Hey there friends, it's Laurie. I hope you're having a great day. Today I'm sharing some new Valentine's Day DIYs. I'm using mostly Dollar Tree supplies, some Hobby Lobby and Temu, along with a few things that I had on hand. And with that, let's get busy. Getting started, I'm using an 11.5-inch wooden heart from the Dollar Tree, and I removed the hanger. I need to lighten up the background, so I'm giving mine a coat of white acrylic paint. The heart is now dry, and I'm adding on a coat of Mod Podge. I like to use the matte finish. Just like the white paint, I'm going to let the Mod Podge dry completely. I'm adding on one of the pretty Valentine's Day napkins. Mine came from the Dollar Tree, but you can use any type of napkins that you'd like. I first need to open it up, and I'm only going to use the top layer. These are only 2-ply, so the easiest way I found to separate them is to place a piece of tape on the bottom corner, and then they peel apart very easily. When you're done, you will have fold marks in the napkin, so I used a dry iron and I just pressed them out. With the heart now dry, I'm centering the napkin over the top. I made sure of the napkin's placement, and now I'm attaching the two pieces together using a paper towel that I dipped in warm water. This activated the Mod Podge and started to adhere the two pieces together. When you're done, you can use your fingers and try to press out any wrinkles that may have appeared on your napkin, but you do take a chance of tearing it. I like to use a piece of plastic wrap big enough to cover the project, and then use that as I'm smoothing out any of the wrinkles that I might find. The heart is now completely dry, and I want to remove the excess napkin, so I'm using a sanding block. As I'm removing the napkin, I'm only working in one direction, because if you move the sandpaper back and forth, you do take a chance of tearing the napkin. As the excess was detaching from the heart, I did gently pull it away. To be sure the napkin doesn't move or tear, I'm now adding on a finishing coat of the matte Mod Podge. For the heart's hanger, I'm using an 18-inch piece of cord that I already had on hand. Unfortunately, it's an off-white, and I'm going to need to paint it. So the easiest way that I found to do it is to use a Ziploc bag, add in some white paint, and zip it up, and then kind of squish it all around until the cord is completely covered. When I was done, I placed the cord on a piece of waxed paper, and it dried in about 10 minutes. I turned the heart over, found the placement of the hanger, and then attached it with some E6000. I'm adding a flower box onto the front, and I'm using one of the small wooden crates from the Dollar Tree. I'll be covering this as well, so I gave it a coat of white acrylic paint. Just like the heart, I gave it a coat of Mod Podge, but I didn't paint the inside because I'll be filling that with flowers. When I was done, I then set it aside to dry. I'm covering the box just like I did the heart, only using the top of the matching Valentine's Day napkin. I found its placement over the top of the crate and then used my damp paper towel to dab it in place. When I was done with the front, I then moved on to both of the sides. I then folded down the top half of the napkin and I attached that in place as well. I'm attaching the back of the crate onto the heart, so I'm just snipping off any of the extra napkin. To remove any of the wrinkles from the napkin, I once again used a piece of clear wrap, and just like the heart, I moved my fingers around to smooth out the surface. I let the box dry and then added on a coat of Mod Podge. You can always leave the front of the box as is. I'm adding on this cute metal sweet tree topper. I found this at the Dollar Tree. I slipped the metal clip from the back and then used my E6000 and attached it onto the front of the box. I'm adding some flowers into the box, and I'm using some Sahara floral foam from the Dollar Tree. I measured it against the box and then cut it to size. I added hot glue onto the bottom of the box and then attached the foam inside. To decorate the box, I'm using some random flowers that I had on hand, and I'm just keeping them in that Valentine's Day color theme. With everything complete, all that's left to do is attach the box onto the heart, and I did that by using some E6000. I let it set up, and now it is one sweet Valentine's Day DIY. If you're new to my channel, please consider clicking on that little red subscribe button below and leaving me a thumbs up. And to all my returning friends, you know I think the world of you, and I can't wait to chat with everyone down below in the comments. I'm making my Valentine's Day wreath by using one of the 14-inch grapevine wreaths from Hobby Lobby. I'm using 20 stems of boxwood. Mine came from Temu, but you can always find these at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. The stems are too long and I don't want them hanging out the back of the wreath, so I'm snipping each one off, leaving about 2 inches or so. I'm adding hot glue to the end of each stem and then placing them in between the grapevines. I'm starting on the inner circle, evenly spacing them and making sure they're all heading in the same direction. I'm now starting on the outside of the wreath and I'm adding on my last 10. I'm adding on 2 additional bunches of greenery with simple white flowers, and these came from Temu as well. They come with 5 stems each, and you can find something very similar at the Dollar Tree. I snipped each one away from the main stem. And now, just like the boxwood, I'm adding hot glue onto the stem of each, and I'm evenly spacing them around my wreath. As I was adding them, I also made sure they were heading in the same direction as the boxwood. Adding on the boxwood and the additional greenery with the hint of white flowers, this makes a perfect base. You can pretty much use this for any season, any holiday, and add on any color flowers that you'd like. Because it's Valentine's Day, I'm using 8 bunches of these pretty small red flowers, and I picked mine up at the Dollar Tree. Each bunch has 6 stems. I slid the leaf upwards and then snipped them off, giving myself about a 2-inch stem. I have 48 flowers in total, so once again I'm adding some hot glue to the bottom of the stem and then tucking them in between the grapevines. I kept adding the flowers on here and there until I filled out my wreath. I'm adding on 2 stems of white wildflowers, and these came from the Dollar Tree. The first 6 flowers, they need to be evenly spaced around the wreath. I'm adding each one to the center, and then when I'm happy with their placement, I'll use my hot glue gun to attach them. I'm attaching my last 6 flowers on the outside in between each of the white flowers on my wreath. I wanted to add on some heart accents, and I found these pretty heart hair clips at the Dollar Tree. I needed 6 hearts, so I bought 3 packages. I needed to detach them from each other, so using protective glasses and my clippers, I removed the plastic teeth and the hinges. The backs are not perfect, but not to worry because that part will be hidden in the wreath. I used some white spray paint and I gave both sides a coat. I added hot glue to the bottom back of each heart and tucked them between the grapevines. I have the hearts heading in all the same direction and I'm evenly spacing them, but I will be adding on a bow, so I'm leaving a little bit of an open space. Adding on a bow is definitely optional. I'm using some of this pretty sparkly heart ribbon. It's 2.5 inch and wired, and I picked mine up at Hobby Lobby. I'll be attaching the ribbon together using an 18-inch piece of floral wire. I'm using my bow maker. You can find these on Amazon, and I'm making 2 12-inch tails and 4 4-inch loops. I wrapped my floral wire around the center, pulled it tightly, and then twisted it in the back. I then opened the 4 loops. I want to hide the wire that you can see in the middle of the bow, so I cut a piece of the matching ribbon and I tied a knot in the center. I added some hot glue onto the wire in the center of the bow and attached down the knot. I then added some to the back and attached both of the ends. I'm now ready to attach the bow to the wreath. I'm wrapping the 2 wires around the open space and then twisting them tightly in the back. Now that I'm done, this pretty Valentine's Day wreath is ready to hang. I'm getting started by using an 8.5 by 8.5 inch canvas sign from the Dollar Tree. This was on clearance and it only cost me 25 cents. I used my white acrylic paint and I painted both sides. When it dried, I did give the front a second coat. I'm adding on a border and I'm using some of this cute XO ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I'm measuring it across my sign and around both sides. Now that I have my size, I'm cutting 3 more pieces. I started on the back of the sign just under the wood. I used my glue gun, attached the first end, then turned my sign over and attached the second end of the ribbon. After my first piece of ribbon was attached, I then continued on and attached the next 3. I'm adding on a hanger and I'm using the same ribbon. I cut mine at 18 inches. You can always attach it using hot glue. I'm using some E6000 and attaching the ribbon hanger onto the back of my sign. I'm adding this heart onto the center of my sign. I found it at Hobby Lobby. It's metal and measures 6 inches. I added on some E6000 and then attached the heart to the sign. To finish up, I'm adding on 4 of these cute felt Valentines, and these came from Hobby Lobby as well. I decided on 2 red and 2 white. I found their placement on my sign and then used my hot glue gun to attach them. This was so easy and inexpensive to make, and now that I'm done, I think this looks like a high-end piece of Valentine's Day decor. To make a super easy Valentine's Day riser, I'm starting with a wooden circle from the Dollar Tree and it measures 7 inches. I painted the top with white acrylic paint. I'm covering it with a piece of Valentine's Day scrapbooking paper and I found this pattern at Hobby Lobby. I turned my paper over and then traced around the wooden circle. When I was done, I then cut it out. I'm using a glue stick. I'm adding a generous amount onto the top of the wooden circle and then attaching the scrapbooking paper. Once in place, I then used my hands to help flatten it out. Now that it's attached, I'm using some light pink acrylic paint and I'm painting around the edges of the circle and on the bottom. In my last video, I used a 7.5-inch mirror from the Dollar Tree to make a window wreath. I ended up having the outside plastic left over, so I thought this would be a great way to recycle it. I'm painting this along with 4 wooden 1-inch knobs. These came from Hobby Lobby with some pink spray paint. I turned the plastic frame over and then added E6000 around the middle ring. When I was done, I then placed the paper side of the circle down. I then added E6000 onto the bottom of each wooden knob and turned them into feet on my riser. I let it set up for a couple of hours, turned it over, added on some cute decor pieces, and now this sweet riser is ready for Valentine's Day. Here we are at the end of the video, and as always, I hope you had fun crafting with me. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to click that little red subscribe button below. I hope you have a sweet and happy Valentine's Day. Be safe, and until next time, bye everybody!